Alright, so this is a showcase of a blindfolded strat for the Valley of Drakes from Firelink Shrine. So I'm going to set the speed to normal. Now, I'm going to clarify that during this recording, I could not see a single thing of what was happening on the screen. So from here, what you need to do is you hold forward until you're next to this little pillar. You get stuck, and then you can't move at all, which is great. It's a normalized position. So you're going to tap left and hold forward. And then you're going to tap left and forward again, ready to quit out. And then when you stop hearing footsteps, it means you'll have fallen, so you quit out. You're going to tap left 4 times and hold forward until you fall. And then backs up 5 times, as you see here. Hold W. And you're going to keep running until you run into this pot right here, which is going to lock you in place like the pillars did before. So when you know that you're next to it, you break it, then tuck yourself in this little corner, tap right, down right, hold it, ready to quit out. And we're going to fall down the elevator again. Now, for the first pass, it will, of course, not be down, it will be up, but you can improvise by just slowly walking forward, and then when you hear that you're walking on the elevator, because it makes a different noise, you just try to fumble around to find the button, and then dark sign, and you can repeat this, and now it's down. So anyway, with the quit out ready, you're going to walk forward until you walk off this. This way your position is reset back to this position, which you'll have just about every time. So now we're going to tap right a few times and then down. I do it 2 times and then 1 down. That way you can flick the switch. You're going to backstep twice, do 2 heavy attacks, send to the camera. You're going to walk into this corner in front of you. You get stuck, and then tap right, hold forward until you fall. When you've fallen, you turn left, send to the camera. And now there's going to be a soul, like right here. It's the soul of a nameless soldier. And do make sure that you pick it up, because it is going to be important for a strategy later in the run. Of course, in this save file, because I had already done multiple attempts, it's picked up, but it will not be, of course, when you do your first pass of the area, so do make sure you get it. Now, when you are walking forward, you're going to notice a little difference in what the ground sounds like when you walk on it. Like right now, you can hear a stone texture. Let me repeat that. As you can see, or hear rather, you'll notice a distinct sound for walking on stone, but when you're in the corner, you're going to hear this. That's more reminiscent of dirt, which is a good indicator that you're in this corner. So we're going to backstep 20 times now from that corner. You're going to stop moving and then backstep 20 times. Just make sure that you wait for your stamina to fully refill before you do your backsteps. And you will have exhausted 4 times. You'll be right here. Now this hollow right here is very, very conveniently placed because we can lock on. And then we're going to hold left until you hear this grass patch. And this hollow is going to keep you stuck in this position. Now, one of the most important things in this run is buffered inputs, because that way we can roll, which is a fixed distance move, without having accidentally taken a step or something like that, because you'll instantly cue the roll out of a previous action. And to achieve this, for now we can do a back step, and that will achieve it fine because you won't move, because of course this corner is going to stop you. But later on we'll see a different method to buffer. So you're going to backstep, and then roll forward to the right and then backwards, and you're going to end up somewhere like right there, maybe a little off screen. So backstep, and then forward, right, left. No, forward, right, back. Let's see that again. So you backstep, forward, right, back. Now there is a very, very, very important detail, and it can go unnoticed rather easily, but it is important to know. So out of this last roll, when you roll backwards in this game while locked on, what will happen is that your character will like sort of stop rolling and then step forward. See, like that. And that little step is actually a change in your position. And if you don't wait for that to finish, what will happen is that if you begin holding left for the next step, you're not going to walk into the little doorway that we're going to walk into. You'll instead end up, instead of here, like you're supposed to, you're going to walk a little bit further back and you're going to run into this pillar instead, and you'll have lost your position. At which point, I have no strategy to recover. So instead of taking the risk, just wait around 1 or 2 seconds and then you can begin holding left. You have all the time in the world, so don't worry about it. So you're going to begin holding left. You can hold it for as long as you like, essentially, but make sure that you're confident that you're against this little wall right here. And then we're going to start either tapping back or holding back. But I like to do a little bit of a mix of both. I try to hold back for a mental count of 3, and then we stop. And then we're going to begin doing small taps of back until we can tell that our character's turned around, which will indicate that we've locked off, like that. After you hear your character turn around, which you can, you're going to tap back a few more times to inch into the Valley of Drakes. I'm sorry that my birds are picking up. I'm sorry. But you're going to tap back a few more times until you hear that you've entered Valley of Drakes with a little banner. Like that. So you're going to ready another quit out, and then you're going to hold down again. And you'll hear about 2 footsteps before you fall off of the cliff right in front of your character. So you're going to quit out like as soon as possible after you start falling. Like that. When you load in, we're going to begin holding left. And then there's a soul on the ground right there. Make sure to pick it up. Of course, this save file already picked it up, but make sure you do get it. And then from here, we're going to do the other method of buffering, which is actually going to be the most important version of a buffer because we can do it without moving. Which is to parry and then mash rolls out of it so that you buffer them or you queue them. That way you can roll without moving, so we can move exact distances. So we're going to parry and then roll backwards 3 times. Wait for your stamina. We're going to do 1R1 to inch forward. You're going to center the camera, and then turn right, center the camera, do 2 more buffer rolls forward. We're then going to turn left and center the camera. Now, one thing I should note is that if you're practicing while you're able to see and then you're going to do blindfolded, you might notice that you're not in this exact position every time. But as long as you've crossed the bridge, you should be fine. You'll normalize your position with a follow and quit out not far from here. Like you could end up roughly over here. I don't know why that happens, but it can. But don't worry about it. After you've crossed, you want to turn left and then buffer rolls 3 more times. So we're going to roll forward 3 times, wait for stamina, roll forward 3 more times. From here, you're going to want to turn around, center, ready, quit out, and then begin holding forward until you hear yourself walk off this little cliff. There's a bit of grass just before that you can hear, which you can use as a cue that you're about to fall. You can keep a mental count if you like. From here, we're going to backstep into holding forward and left during the backstep so that we buffer walking that direction. Otherwise, if you're not going to wait, if you don't buffer holding these buttons during the backstep and instead you try to freehand it, what's going to happen is that your character could potentially turn left a little bit and then begin walking forward, or walk forward a little bit before you start walking left. I don't think it matters too much for the sake of this bridge, but you don't want it to happen for later, so it's just good to make it a habit to buffer holding a direction during other actions. So you backstep and begin walking onto the bridge. You'll hear the wood texture instead of the dirt texture, after which you should hold forward, and we're going to ready another quit out. And you're going to hear a little patch of grass, which I like to use as a way to, which I like to use as an audio cue to count down before quitting out. So I'm going to, it's like this little patch of grass right there. You'll hear it. I like to count to around 3 and then quickly quit out. Optimally, you'll quit out when you fall off of the ledge, but if you don't, it's fine as long as you're really close to it like I was there. I did not actually fall. When you load in, you're going to want to buffer holding forward and right. Sprint is optional, but it does save some time because it does take a really long time to cross this if you're just walking. Now, the best cue I have to know when you're in position is a very long stretch without any grass. I'm going to walk through grass briefly. This is grass, that is grass, that is grass. But then there's a really long stretch on this little hill without any grass. So you just listen for this, and then when you're in position, you're going to hear grass irregularly, because we want to be in this corner. And as you can tell, there's grass right there. So what you want to do is you're going to want to listen for this grass. And then when you know that you're here, which you can tell, of course, from the grass, as I said, you're going to want to roll while still holding forward and right. And the reason we do this is so that we can come to a stop, but without having accidentally released one button before the other. Because unless you release them frame perfectly at the exact same time, your character is going to turn around and the next setups are ruined. So you want to get a roll while you're still walking into this corner, and then stop moving. So as you can see at the input display, I'm going to slow it back down real quick. If you're walking in this corner, I'm going to roll and then stop holding the mid animation, as you can see right there. After this, you're going to want to quit out and pray that your angle is right. And we're going to do a pretty large chain of buffered rolls. So here it comes. We're going to go left, forward, forward. And wait for stamina, roll forward one more time. Wait for stamina, roll right, and then forward 2 times. Wait for stamina, then left, forward 2 times. Forward 2 more times. We're going to turn right, and then roll forward 3 times. And then center the camera. It's not completely necessary, but because your character might have an irregular direction that they're facing in, it might occur that you're going to fall down a little ledge right there. So if you center the camera, you're pretty much guaranteed not to fall. And now this little section is going to be a bit of a pain, because in Blindfolded there's not a normalized setup that I've found yet. And this Drake is a bit of a pain. So what you're going to want to do is we're going to hold forward and block. And then when you hear the Drake turn around, you begin holding sprint. And it's going to forward. So we're going to hold forward and block. And then when you hear this Drake turn around, you can see that I'm holding sprint. And now the best cue that I have for when to turn to the left, because if you keep holding forward, you're going to walk into this little cave with the humanity in it, at which point you're completely dead. There's no way you can recover. So instead, what I like to do is I use this Drake's lightning sound effect to I use the Drake's lightning sound effect as a cue to begin counting a little bit, and then when my character begins walking again, I'm going to start holding forward and left at the same time. So that way I redirect myself past this wall, and I will be around there. After that, you want to hold, of course, you want to hold forward and left for just a brief period of time. If you keep holding it, you're going to fall off this ledge and die, which of course would be very sad. So you want to figure out how long you want to hold it. It will become intuition eventually, just practice it with a save state. And when you're finished, you want to begin holding forward and right, as you can see. And you're just going to slide along this wall, and this second Drake is going to aggro. And he's going to breathe lightning just about every time. And I want to use the end of that lightning sound effect as a cue for when I'm in this little corner. You'll be walking this direction instead of forward. But when the Drake's lightning stops, you want to stop holding right and only hold forward and quickly quit out. Now, the problem with this Drake is that his position is close enough to where we quit out that he instantly aggroes when you load back in. And if you get hit by the lightning once, you're dead. So if you want to perform the following actions very quickly, you're going to want to load in and then buffer a left roll into 2 forward rolls as fast as you can. I didn't make it here, which is a mistake, but you should parry if possible. In this case, it didn't matter. I did manage to stay close enough to the intended position for it to work, but you should parry if you can into the rolls. And then, of course, when you're finished, as you can see, you're going to quit out, because if you don't and you continue holding forward, the Drake has a very high chance to shoot lightning, and you'll just walk right into it and you'll die, which is not fun, because you will have taken around 8 minutes to get here. So instead, we're going to quit out, which resets the Drake, and we lose their aggro. When you load in, you're going to hold forward and left, and you're going to walk into this little corner. Now, just like the corner from before, was like, where was it? Let me find it. This corner right here, we're going to do a similar strat where we're going to roll into it and then begin holding nothing, so that we're facing the desired direction. Now, it didn't happen with the other corner in this attempt, but I'm going to just sit here. As you can tell, I'm spamming space as much as possible, yet my character is not rolling. I have no idea why this happens. If anyone knows, that would be nice to know. Please tell me. But if it doesn't work, just persevere. Just wrestle with the controls as much as possible until you pull off a roll. So I'm going to get one very shortly. To reroll, stop holding any directions, quit out to manipulate the camera. And we're simply going to buffer a right roll into 2 forward rolls. Not only the right roll is actually necessary, but I like to do 2 forward rolls regardless, which sends you to this wall. Now, I've had varying results with like where you end up on this wall, and there are positions where if you hold forward, you just won't move, like this. If that is the case, you can encourage your character to walk a little bit to the right, just by pressing right briefly. Of course, you want to wait to do that, because there are positions where you just end up in the corner where we want to be. So do wait a little bit. In this case, I could tell that I did not end up in this room because it kept hearing the dirt texture instead of the stone texture. So I pressed right briefly and then continued holding forward. And eventually, I did make it into here. And that is the end of the Valley of Drakes. You would have successfully crossed it if you made it all the way here. And that's the end of the tutorial. Now hopefully, you'll be able to pull this off pretty quickly with this guide. Hopefully it was helpful. But for now, I'm going to go look into further strats and hope that I'll be able to come up with more soon enough. So I hope this was useful. I hope you have a great day, and I hope to see you next time. See ya.